All right, welcome everybody. This is going to be our Q&A for the volume profile video in our Becoming an Apex Trader, the DBT method series. Appreciate you guys all stopping by. I'm going to be pulling some questions from the video comments if you guys left your questions on that video. And I'll also be taking questions from the live stream. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the live chat. Obviously, keep it related to volume profile. Anything that we covered in that about 2-hour video that we put out last week. For you guys that are showing up to the live stream, we'll be doing some giveaways in a little bit, probably towards the end of the stream for some Apex accounts and for Discord access as well. So stick around until the end if you guys want to get involved in those giveaways. Also, be sure to follow the giveaway details on the videos. We talk about it at the start of every single video in the series. Just follow those details to get involved in the giveaways throughout the series. We've got one video left and then one more Q&A after this one, and then we will be doing the very large giveaway for the laptop at the end. So make sure to follow those details in all the series videos. Appreciate you guys being here. Good afternoon, AT, Greg, Max, Sam, Baja Thumper. Appreciate you guys being here. I'll give people a few more minutes to get in here, then we'll get started with some questions from the video comments. And after I finish the ones from the video comments, if you guys have any questions, put them in the live chat, and we'll cover those as well. Once this live stream is over, I cut it up and cut out all the dead time so you guys can go back and watch it afterwards if you guys were not able to watch this live. I did notice that YouTube, for some reason, did not save my edits on the last Q&A, so I have to go back and recut that one up. Sometimes it does that, unfortunately. I don't know why. But I will go back and cut that one up again. Shouldn't take me too long. So that one should be cut up and ready probably by like Wednesday. Rongel, Ordinary Patriot, appreciate you guys being here. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, let's get started with the questions that were on the comments section of the volume profile video. So our first question is, given that on any new trading session, you still don't have a developed profile on what to base your trades, do you use the prior session ETH, RTH, or both combined to come up with your plan? So normally, if you guys watch my live stream that we do Monday through Friday, when we start the live stream, the very first thing that we do is we take a look at the overnight profile, because obviously the day hasn't started yet with the 9:30 open. So we don't have that developing profile of the cash profile or the full session profile. Realistically, we only have the overnight profile, which in my settings is the blue profile. And that overnight goes from the open of the prior day, which right now is around 6 p.m. Eastern, and that goes until 9:30 a.m. the following day, which would be the current day when you are developing your trade plan, right? So that entire movement, all that volume, all that value creates this overnight profile. And from there, we can say, okay, what is the shape of our overnight profile? Is it a D shape? Is it a P shape? Lowercase b, whatever it is, right? And we can use that to determine going into the open, what is our trade plan? Now, the exception to that rule is if there's not a lot of movement on the pre-market and it's like an inside day and it's just kind of trading inside of like prior value. Let's take this right here. So Thursday, or this would be Friday, and this would be Thursday. On the open of Friday, a lot of this value was just trading inside of Thursday. And obviously it started to push away from that value just a little bit. It pushed below that value on the open of Friday. But for the most part, most of that value was just inside of the prior day. If that happens, you normally want to take into account the full session of the prior day, especially if that full session has a very obvious imbalance. If it has a very obvious P-shape imbalance or lowercase b, you want to take that into account. So not always are you going to say, okay, my pre-market is a D shape, so my trading plan is a D shape. If that D shape is almost entirely inside of a lowercase b shape, which is a good example right here, then you probably want to have a lowercase b bias, right? You want to use that lowercase b of that full session as your bias, okay? Because realistically, think about what is happening here. We have the value of this day on Thursday. It's not really being broken on Friday. You're just continuing that value of Thursday. Then we start to lose that value a little bit into the open. So if we look at the grand scheme of this value, what is it doing? It is just continuing the lowercase b from Thursday. It's not changing into a new shape. So when you see that happening, you want to take the shape and the bias of the larger day, of the full session. But if you have like data during the pre-market, maybe like a CPI or something like that, and your pre-market has a ton of value and it's just moving around like crazy, then obviously you want to put more weight on that pre-market profile. But if your pre-market's not really doing anything and it's just kind of continuing the prior day, then you want to put more weight on the full session of the prior day. Okay, that's why sometimes during my trade plans, I tell people, hey guys, we're in a lowercase b shape. For example, I believe I did that on Friday. And I said, hey guys, our bias is a lowercase b. But if you look at the profile of the pre-market during the open, this is not a lowercase b. So people are like, why are you saying it's a lowercase b? It's kind of like a D shape. It's because I am using that prior full session, because that's kind of the day that's dictating our bias, right? This pre-market's not really doing anything out of the ordinary from that bias that we already had on Thursday. It's not going against that bias, right? It's kind of like a continuation move. It's just continuing the prior day, okay? So if it seems like you're just continuing the prior day's bias, or if you're just inside of the prior day's bias, you can use the prior day to create your trade plan. If it seems like your pre-market is creating its own plan, its own bias, then use the pre-market. That's kind of how I do it. So hopefully that answers your question. This question is kind of the same. So it says, when it comes to trading the shapes, are you using the profile shape from the current day to trade off of, or are you referencing the previous day's profile shape? There's not an exact science to this, because sometimes I am referring to a different profile. And this is why people come into my stream and they're like, hey, which profile do you use? Do you use the cash? Do you use the full session? And my answer is I use all of them. I use all of the profiles, right? The blue profile is the pre-market. This white and gray profile is the full session. And then if I go to this chart, this is the cash profile. So I use all of the profiles. Now, which one do I provide my trade plan based off of, or which one do I put the most emphasis on, the most weight? It would probably be the full session. It would probably be this profile right here. I try to clarify when I'm saying like, hey guys, we're in a P shape or we're in a D shape, whatever. I try my best to clarify I'm talking about the cash profile or the current profile. Sometimes I don't clarify it, and that's just a mistake on my part. But yeah, I use all the profiles. I put the most weight on the full session profile. So vast majority of the time when I'm talking about what shape we are in and how we are trading that shape, like what our bias is, I'm talking about the full session profile. My white and gray profile on TradingView. Now, the exception would be, let's say our pre-market is very P-shaped, so we have like a bullish bias, but then our cash profile that starts at 9:30 Eastern time is just a D shape, because all we're doing is continuing that upper node from the pre-market. In that case, when the open is just building up a node from the pre-market, you want to respect that cash profile. You want to watch where that value high is, where that value low is. Where are those rotations happening? Because sometimes it will be rotating just the cash profile and it will not finish that rotation on the full session profile. For example, let's say that we kept ranging throughout today, and this was the cash profile. The cash profile was very D-shaped, right? You built up a node on this open range. But the full session, let's say we had the value high like up here and the value low down here. If you just kept rotating that cash profile, you need to be mindful of where that cash value high is and that cash value low is. When I say cash, I just mean 9:30 a.m. is the start, right? When you're using market profile, you're using cash most of the time. So the A session of a market profile starts at 9:30 Eastern, because that's the New York Open. Okay. And you can use these techniques on like the London Open or the Asian Open, whatever. But obviously, I trade on the Eastern time zone, so I'm using the Eastern time. But yeah, you want to be mindful of where these cash value high and value low levels are, because sometimes the morning range will just be so tight that you are not making it to that full session value high or value low. You're just stuck in a very small morning range. Okay. All right, next question. Let's see here. So this question was asking me to review using the different types of profiles, like visible range, fixed range, periodic, stuff like that. So I can briefly go over how to use volume profile in kind of a macro sense instead of like a day trading sense, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this topic. So one thing you can do is what's called composites, right? And we're talking about a composite right now. Over the last couple of weeks, we have been looking at a composite level because we have so many overlapping value levels being retested. So when you have all of this overlapping value in the same area, then we can pull what are called composites. It's basically just a fancy word for taking a fixed value range, or a volume profile, I should say, of a range in price. So instead of like breaking this down into multiple value areas of every individual day, I'm just taking a composite, a combination of all of these candles put together into one profile. So we can say, okay, where is that overlapping value low? Where is that overlapping value high? Now, you guys don't see me do this all the time because this is more of a swing trading, kind of a macro way to use volume profile. What you guys see me use this on much more often, if you guys watch my live stream, is when I am doing my crypto analysis. And the reason I do it, look, you can see it's on my chart already. I do it all the time on crypto. So I have like a composite of this range. I have a composite of that range. I have a composite of that range, so on and so forth. I do this much more frequently on crypto because I am trading crypto on a much longer time scale. I am not day trading crypto, right? So I don't care about these individual profiles on crypto. I want to see the bigger picture. I want to see where this overlapping value is and how is it being retested. Okay, a good example is back in March and January. We had all of this overlapping value right here on crypto. We lost it and retested it. Beautiful retest right there. And then it sold, went back into it, had to chop out for a little bit around that POC, finally retraced it, and then look at that flip. We flipped that value and then started pushing higher. And we're actually retesting that value right as we speak. But yeah, it's good to know where all this overlapping value is so you can kind of determine where the buyer or seller demand is. Now, going back to ES here, if I go to a higher time frame, might make it a little bit easier. We are approaching a composite profile on ES right now. And we talked about this in the Discord just a few minutes ago. We need to pay attention to how they respond to this overlapping value low. All of this overlapping value back in late October, early November. Because we want to see, okay, who is controlling this level on a macro sense? Are we returning back into that value low and retracing back into that value high? Think about it as like a distribution range. We want to retrace it and then start to find higher value. Okay? So you can use that to pull up a composite profile of many overlapping days. If you just have like 4 to 5 days just overlapping each other. Another thing you can do is you could have like a weekly profile, which I have on my Addis charts over here. So you could also pull up a periodic profile of the weekly instead of looking at it broken down into every individual day. You can look at the volume profile on a weekly scale if you're somebody who's trading more of a swing trading sense, right? So right here, we can look at this and we can see, okay, during the week, where's all our value building up? We can take a look at these weekly nodes. So like if we look at last week and then we look at the start of this week, we can see we've already reclaimed a ton of volume, a ton of value, right? We reclaimed this node, we reclaimed this node, we reclaimed that node, right? So we can see that this week is already doing pretty damn good because we've already retraced 3 of our 4 major nodes, okay? So those are a couple ways you can use volume profile broken down into different types. Composites, periodic. Something I'm going to talk about a lot more in our next video, which, by the way, it's not coming out this Wednesday. It's going to be coming out next week. I had to push it back a week. We're going to be breaking it down candle by candle. So you can use volume profile on a footprint sense, looking at it on a 30-minute candle or maybe a 5-minute candle. and you can do kind of the same techniques. It's not exactly the same, but you can look for those like D shapes or P shapes or lowercase b's, whatever it may be. Mostly we are looking for what we talked about in our video about protecting value. So we're looking for where they're building the nodes. Are they protecting those nodes? Are they building them higher? Are they building them lower? Is it being absorbed? That sort of thing, right? All right, we got a couple more, and then I'll go over some questions that you guys have on the live stream. So this wasn't really a question, it was just they were saying that they struggle on D-shaped days. So I'm just going to go over a couple of like simple techniques that you want to be mindful of on a D-shaped day. So with a D shape, it's a standard bell curve day where you have like a POC in the middle and you have the value high up towards the high of day, value low towards the low of day. And during these days, what you need to identify is when you try to push above that value high, are you doing those two things that we always talk about? Are you building value outside of the value area? And are they protecting that value? And I had a very long section about this in the video towards the end of the video. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, just rewatch that part of the video. Like what is protecting value. And we're going to talk about that more in the order flow video because we can throw on top of that using delta and using absorption and exhaustion and the tape and stuff like that. But in a very simple sense, what are we looking for? If you think about what a D shape is showing you, the D shape is saying, hey, above this value high, we are dropping like a rock. We're just falling off a cliff in volume. There's just no volume above that value high. That is creating the tail. The tail has no volume. Okay? So to break that, we need to do the opposite. We need to generate a large node outside of the value area. So if you're breaking into higher value, you want that to be obviously above. If you're breaking into lower value, you want that to be below, right? Not only do we have to find that value, they have to protect that value. So they need to be like hanging out above that node. They need to be showing that they want to even go higher. They want to find higher value. And every time they try to retest that node, the buyers come in. Because if you think about what a D shape is supposed to do, it is supposed to be rejecting this. So when it finds that higher value, it's supposed to just go right back down. So obviously, if we want to be breaking out of the D shape, they need to be doing the opposite. They need to be respecting that value, protecting that value bullishly. So when they come back down to retest those nodes, you want to be seeing a bunch of buyers come in, whether that be like sweeps or higher lows or bullish delta, whatever your signal is that tells you there are buyers there, right? So they need to tell you, hey, there is value inside of this tail, and we are respecting it. We are finding that buy pressure and protecting that breakout. If they are not doing those two things, it is going right back down. And you're just stuck in rotation until that happens. Either it happens on the downside and they look for lower value, or it happens on the upside and they look for higher value. Okay? So you want to be a seller when that is failing. You want to be a seller when that is failing on the high, and you want to be a buyer when that is failing on the low. So when they try to put in that node, but they can't protect it bearishly, then you want to be a buyer. And you just go right back up to the value high. Same thing on the top. When they try to put in that node, but they're not protecting it, you go right back down. You do not want to trade around the middle. You do not want to trade around the POC. You do not want to trade around VWAP. Typically, VWAP is in the middle. You want to be trading the extremes. Either reversal trading, going into that rotation, or breakout trading, looking for the trade that breaks balance to the upside or downside. In no scenario do you want to be trading in the middle. That is a coin flip. If you want to trade in the middle, just have a coin on your desk and flip the coin and heads or tails, right? That's basically what you're doing. The middle is a trap for both sides. So that is how you want to trade the D shape. And one thing I talk about in the long video, the volume profile video, I talk about when you are trading those rotations, you need to decide pretty early on that you're going to be a rotation trader or you're going to be patient and wait for the break of balance trade. You don't want to be flip-flopping and trying to do both. You do not want to be cherry-picking which rotation you trade, because most of the time you do that, you're just training your brain to like get trapped in the wrong trade. You're like, oh, okay, this rotation looks like it's the good one. I'm going to take this one. And then it doesn't rotate. It goes into a breakout. And you're like, okay, well, I can't trade rotations on D-shaped days. They never work. That's obviously not true, because then D-shaped days would not happen. The whole reasoning behind them happening is because the rotations are there. You're just cherry picking them and trading the wrong ones, right? So you need to decide very early on, am I going to trade the rotations, be a seller around the value high breakouts that fail, obviously, be a buyer around the value low breakouts that fail, or am I going to wait for those breakouts to actually succeed? Am I going to wait for those nodes to be protected? Okay. So decide what you're going to do pretty early in that day. So this next question is basically talking about when you have a P-shape volume profile, you have a slight bullish imbalance, right? And normally what I teach with a P-shape profile is as long as that value low is being protected, you can be a buyer in that general area and look for a breakout, or at least trade the rotations, right? Now, if the P-shape imbalance is too strong, they are going to fail to rotate, meaning they are not going to let you get that value low trade. They're going to rotate a bit early. So they're going to stop at the POC or stop at VWAP or whatever it may be, and they're going to break out to the upside, because more often than not, a P-shaped profile wants to extend that upper tail. So they have that bullish bias. So when it is ready to break out, or at least attempt to break out, you are not going to get that value low buy, because it's not going to rotate fully, right? It's going to stop at the POC or VWAP, or even it's going to stop at the value high, right? So yes, you are not going to get the value low buy if it is ready to break out. So you have to look out for that. You could be a buyer around the POC. It's not exactly a 50-50 like it is on a D-shaped day. It's still a choppy zone. It's still not a very good trade. But because you have that bullish bias, if it is failing to rotate and showing a lot of buy pressure on the POC or VWAP, right? Then yes, you could probably be a buyer around there, or you could wait for it to hold back above the value high, protect the upper node, and then buy the breakout, look for the upper tail extension. So those are scenarios that you could use if the value low is just not being tested because you are too bullish. But yes, that will happen from time to time, because the P shape is just, it has a bullish bias, right? So it's going to want to put in those higher lows. It's the same thing with a lowercase b. When you have a lowercase b, if it's ready to break down, they are not going to keep letting you sell the value high. It's going to stop a little bit early and start to die off. So you need to be mindful of when it fails to rotate, because that could be indicating, hey, we are ready to go for lower value. And you'll hear me say that on the live stream every now and then. I'll talk about like, all right, guys, we're failing to rotate. This thing is ready to make a move. And that's what I mean. It was rotating over and over and over again, and then it stopped rotating. So like it was rotating the value area, but then it did something like this, where it was like kind of stalling out towards the value low. You need to watch this pattern where it's doing something for a long period of time, and then it very clearly stops doing it. You need to pay attention to that on especially P-shaped days and lowercase b days to try to determine when that breakout is going to happen. Okay, that was all the questions from the comments of the video. Now you guys can post, or if you already posted, your questions from the live chat. Let me see if I have any questions here. First question is it the same as market profile? If not, is one better than the other? They are basically the same thing. Kind of like how you're trading them is basically the same thing, but they differ in, like, I guess you would call it like their calculations, like how they're calculated. But as far as like shapes and watching the nodes and watching the retest and the tails and all that stuff, they're pretty much the same. But yeah, they're calculated differently, obviously. All right, let me see. Do I have any other questions here? So Sam is asking about the data that goes into building the volume profile. Is it reliable on TradingView? Yes, it is. TradingView has fantastic volume profiles. I rely on them every single day. And I've shown many times on stream, we literally have a saying on my stream, I sound like a broken record, because I say damn near to the tick all the time, because the levels that we use from these volume profiles are tested like damn near to the tick on multiple occasions. So yes, it is reliable. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect every time, but if you use it on a daily basis, you will notice that these levels are widely respected. Now, obviously, that's based on your settings. So these are the settings that I like to use. I use a 70 value area percentage. I have number of rows set to 100. It just breaks it up in like the most, I guess you would say, accurate way compared to how platforms like Addis or Trade8 or other platforms like that break up their volume profiles. Where TradingView struggles, and I'm going to talk about this a lot in our next video, is the delta data. If it has anything to do with determining how much buyer volume or seller volume there is, where the delta is, etc., that's not reliable whatsoever on TradingView. And you can prove this by looking at that data side by side with something like Addis or something that has very reliable data that shows you every single individual trade that is coming in with an extremely high tick rate. TradingView is an extremely low tick rate. They are very, very slow. So like if 10 trades happen within the span of a few milliseconds, you're going to see pretty much every single trade on Addis coming in, obviously with how much our human brains can compute. But you're going to see like every individual trade coming in. You're not going to see that on TradingView. TradingView kind of baskets that data together. It aggregates that data over X amount of milliseconds, right? So it doesn't have the proper buy and sell data, but the volume data is very good. It's just when you start to break that volume data down into categories, it really struggles. So yes, short answer, TradingView's volume profile is very good. Their market profile is also very good. Okay, let me see. Do I have any more questions? How do I draw my levels? So my levels are nothing fancy. It is literally just me marking out the value high, value low, sometimes the POC, sometimes the high of day and low of day, and that is pretty much it. I'm just marking out these levels, and when they get tested, I delete them. With a small exception. For example, like this level right here, it was tested mostly during the pre-market, so I did not delete that level. Now that it has been fully used up, I would delete this level moving forward because we have completed this value retrace. So at the start of today, we were watching this level and this level because that is the untested value above us. Okay? Now that that value retrace has happened, we can go ahead and delete those levels. So that's how I do all of my levels. And that's why my chart looks absolutely ridiculous if I zoom out. Like, look at all my levels. I do not delete them until there has been a value retrace or a significant value test of those levels. And I always have people come into the stream that watch my stream for like 30 seconds and they think they know everything that I do. And they say, oh my God, look at how many levels this guy has. Of course it's going to bounce or reject one of these levels when you have 1,000 of them. They have no idea what they're talking about because these levels, when you zoom in, they are sometimes like 50, 60, 100 points away from each other. So when you're trading them on a scalping sense, that is a massive, massive move. And that is why I have so many levels back to back to back. Because we are scalping these levels. We are day trading these levels. Obviously, anybody that has 2 brain cells could see that the levels would be very close together if you zoom out on a higher time frame, if you zoom out on like a daily chart. We are not trading these levels on a daily chart. Okay. But yeah, long story short, I am just marking out the prior value levels. It's kind of known as a naked level when there is a level that has not been tested, like a naked POC or a naked value high, something like that. So I mark out the levels that are closed. Very rarely I will mark out the developing levels, but most of the time I wait for that full session to close and then I mark the levels out. Because if they're developing, I have to constantly move my levels around. If the day has ended, the levels are not going to change. As long as your platform's not doing some weird formulas or whatever, right? As long as your platform is doing volume profile correctly, those levels should not change. Another tip I can give you guys is if your platform provides a continuous contract, I would recommend marking your levels out on the continuous contract so you don't have to constantly go back and redo your levels every time the contract rolls over. So like if I zoom out here, these are very old contracts that I have these levels marked out on because we've already rolled over multiple times. But those levels still work because I am using a continuous contract. Mario asked if I use market profile. It seems like you haven't watched the volume profile video, so I would go back and watch that video. This is a Q&A for the volume profile video. So make sure you guys have watched that video already. Lucio, you said same for the POC nodes. What was I talking about when you said that? Can you clarify? Mario said, so if there's a POC from a previous day's value where I can't trade it, no, you can. Just understand that POC nodes, the reason that is a POC node, what is a POC node, right? A POC node is the highest volume of that day. That's what the POC level is. So typically the node around the POC has massive volume. So if something has massive volume, what is that telling you? That is telling you that not only are the buyers finding value there, the sellers are also finding value there. That is a 50-50 level. Both sides are finding value. What does that tell you when you are trading? That tells you that if I take a trade on this POC node, I'm kind of coin flipping. It's a bit of a dangerous trade because both sides have told me they agree that is a good price. Now, obviously, there are techniques that you can take that further and say, well, it's a P shape of the prior day, so if I'm retesting the P shape's POC node, then obviously I would have a bullish bias because we've already broken out of that POC and we're retesting it. So with a retest, there's always a little bit of a bias based on whatever that day was doing. If the day was very bullish and you're retesting that POC, then you might have a bullish bias. If the day was extremely bearish and you're retesting the POC, then obviously you might be a little bearish, right? But more often than not, there is a better trade. Trading the POC is just not the best trade. Being patient and waiting for a better level would make your trade a higher strike rate, right? Sorry, I'm already losing my voice, and it's only a Monday, so might have too much longer on this video. Yeah, exactly. So when you're on a D-shaped profile, I talk about do not care zones, right? When you're turning your brain off and you're looking at price action, but you're not really looking for a trade. You're not really hovering over the buy or sell button. You're just watching the price action and being patient. Around the POC node on a D-shaped profile is a massive do not care zone. You do not care. You want to just see it go to one of the extremes. Go to the value high, go to the value low, go to the overnight high, overnight low, high of day, low of day, whatever, right? Any of the extremes. You do not want to trade around that POC because it's going to chop you out most of the time. Now, obviously, there's always going to be somebody in chat who's like, well, I trade the POC and I do fantastic. Yes, I understand that. I understand that there is a trading system for everything. So if you're really good at trading the chop and you like trading that choppiness of a D shape and you're just taking these like 2-point scalps back and forth, that's good for you, whatever. I am talking to traders as a whole. I'm trying to tell you guys, most people, when I'm tutoring them and I see what they struggle with, I'm trying to correct those mistakes, right? And vast majority of people that trade D-shaped profiles, when we go over their losses, they are almost always around the POC. They are not trading the extremes. They are trading the chop in the middle, and they're wondering why they're getting chopped out. You are trading the smack in the middle of a massive range, and you're wondering why you're getting chopped out, right? So you just don't want to do that. Trade the extremes. And it doesn't have to be reversals on the extremes, right? You could wait for the breakouts of the extremes. If you think it's a real breakout and you're going to break balance and go one directionally, then go for that as well. That is still a better trade than trading the POC. Yeah, Sam, I'll be talking a lot more about that in the next video. People ask me that all the time about, like, what do I mean by protecting a level? I talked about that in depth in that volume profile video, but I'm going to add a little bit more on top of that in the order flow video. A lot of it has to do with, like, intuition. So this last video, I know I've said this about every video, but this last video is extremely hard to make, which is why I'm pushing it out a week, because I need to have a lot of examples to explain these concepts. Because the last video being on order flow, it is I don't know if I want to say subjective, but it's kind of intuition. You develop this, like, you develop this idea, this, like, sense of the flow, the order flow, right? That's why it's called order flow. You're kind of watching how the orders are coming in. You're like, okay, this pattern is pretty 50-50, and then something just changes, and it's not 50-50 anymore. It starts to break that pattern. It starts to lean towards one side or the other, right? So it's a lot of intuition. So it's not super easy for me to teach all that stuff. But like I said, I'm going to try my very best, and we're going to talk about it in the order flow video. Sometimes on the live stream, I don't do this very often because it's extremely mentally exhausting. But sometimes on the live stream, I will do tape reading sessions, and I'll just tape read as fast as I possibly can, and I'll try to tell you guys my thought process on how these orders are coming in. I used to do it a lot more, but like I said, it's mentally exhausting, so I don't do it too much anymore. But every now and then you'll catch me doing that on stream. So tune into the live stream, you'll see that every now and then. No, I have not, Thumper. I think I covered pretty much every question. Let me see, did I miss anything? Yeah, Max. So basically what you're looking for in, like, a D-shaped day, or realistically kind of any day, you are looking for when something has happened repeatedly over and over again, like a rotation, and it's no longer happening. For example, let's say today, let's take today's value. Let's just predict tomorrow is going to be stuck inside of today's value. So we're just going to keep failing the value high and bouncing off the value low. So let's say it does that for, like, the first, like, 4 hours of the day. And then in the afternoon, it does something like this, where it starts to bounce, like, halfway, or it starts to bounce around VWAP. That is something that should wake you up. That is something you should really be paying attention to. Why is that happening? Is it putting in higher lows and trying to go for higher value? Is it sweeping? Is it trapping? Is there absorption there? Whatever, right? Once you see that happen, you need to determine, why do you think that is happening? What signal is it giving you? We were in one pattern repeatedly, and now we are breaking that pattern. That is the number one thing you are looking for on a D-shaped day. We are rotating over and over and over again. And then finally, we're not rotating. And that right there is exactly what I mean by protecting a node. You take that concept that I was just teaching you on a larger scale, and you put that onto every single node. So that could be a 30-minute node, right? That could be looking at a 30-minute candle. And we're just constantly rotating back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But then it stops rotating. It stops allowing those sellers to push the bottom of that node. That should be telling you something. Why are they no longer letting the sellers go down to 40 or 39 or 38? Why are they holding it at 40, 41, 42? And what that will look like on the tape, and I'm getting ahead of myself, like I said, we'll talk about this in the next video. But what that will look like on the tape is, let's say we're rotating, we're selling, we're seeing a lot of sellers at 43, a lot of sellers at 42, and then we start to go down. A lot of buyers at 40, a lot of buyers at 38, 37, and then rinse and repeat, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But then we start seeing sellers at 43, sellers at 42, sellers at 41, buyers at 40, buyers at 41, buyers at 42, sellers at 41, and then it goes higher, right? So instead of seeing the sellers at 39, 38, 37, they're only getting down to 41 now. And now you're starting to see the buyers come in at 41. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's because I haven't covered those concepts yet. We're going to be talking about that during our final video. But that's why it's the last video, right? So if you guys are confused on that, like protecting value and what I was just talking about with the tape and whatnot, it is confusing. That is why it's the last video. Because you have to understand all of these other concepts to understand that final concept, right? It's a path. You have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You can't do 5 without understanding 1 through 4. Nahal, I covered that earlier. So he was asking about merging market profiles. We covered composite profiles earlier in the video. Okay, if you guys have any final questions, put them in chat. We're going to cover the final questions, then we'll get into the giveaway, and we will call it a video. If you guys enjoy this content, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe. If you guys are just popping in and you have not seen the Becoming an Apex Trader 1 through 4, be sure to check those out after this Q&A, right? You're kind of coming in at like the end, right? Definitely check out the rest of the series. Not a good sign my voice is already shot on a Monday. Sorry, my voice is cracking a lot. Let me see here. I don't know what you mean, Hang. I don't know what you mean. Can you clarify your question? What do you mean focus only on the most recent swing? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you mean like where to pull your fixed range profile from? Is that what you're talking about? Sam, I don't buy any data. I am using the data provided by Apex. So on Addis, I have my Apex paid account, which they provide you rhythmic data just by having the account. No, I don't party, man. It's just my voice. I have acid reflux. It just tears my throat up. So depending on what I eat, it just makes my voice crack a lot. I also probably don't drink enough water. Gotcha. So you were referring to where to draw your profiles from. So that is extremely subjective, so it's really hard for me to teach that because it's going to be completely up to you. What I do is I like to look for where these profiles are overlapping. So you see how all these profiles, not exactly their value areas, but just like the price action is overlapping. You want to kind of figure out where that started. So this one is pretty easy because this all started because of a gap up. So we gapped up, we tried to go higher, it failed, then we started to overlap. So there's a couple ways you could do this. Like I said, it's very subjective. You could either pull from the highest point. So we could say, okay, it started failing like right here. And you could take it for however long you want to take it. Or you could do what I do, where I try to find the point of origin. Like what originated this chop? And then I try to take it until the chop broke down. Exactly what I was just covering earlier. So what did I say earlier? When you're protecting a node or when you're rotating, you're constantly doing the same pattern over and over and over again until you aren't. It works until it doesn't, right? So if we look at all of this overlapping value right here, where does this break? It breaks right here. Because they kept allowing the rotations over and over and over again, and then they put in this massive lower high right here. And we know that is the breaking point because of hindsight, right? In hindsight, we can see it failed to rotate and it nuked. That is why composites are mostly used in hindsight. They're not used for like trading this. They are used for trading this and this. They're not used right when this happens. You're drawing this composite because we know that we are retracing into something major, right? We're retracing into this major overlapping value. We're not drawing this to take this like scalp trade downward. So it's okay that you're seeing this in hindsight because you're not retesting it for like another 3 to 5 days. So that's how I do it. I try to find where the overlap is happening and where did that originate from? Like what started that overlap? Now there's no perfect way of doing it. It's very subjective. So just find whatever works for you. I can't really cover that in this video. You're asking about finding levels inside of a volume profile, like support and resistance levels. That's a little too much for this video because that would basically be taking my entire series as a whole. So I would just recommend watching the entire series as a whole, and that's kind of what I do, right? You have the Candlesticks video talks about point of origins. You have the market structure video talking about swing highs and swing lows. You have the indicators video talking about pivots and VWAPs and all that stuff. It's too much for one video, right? Now, if you're only looking at it on a volume profile sense and you're throwing everything else out the window, you could look for nodes. You could look for high volume nodes, low volume nodes, that sort of thing. But yeah, I can't really answer that with one sentence. That is quite literally the entire series as a whole. But all right, guys, I think that is it for the questions. I appreciate you guys being here for our live Q&A. For you guys that were able to make it live, we're going to go ahead and do some giveaways. We're going to do some Apex account giveaways, and I'm going to give away Discord access as well. If you guys are watching this after the fact and you could not make it live, I am also doing giveaways for those of you that have sent me your tickets to my giveaway email. So if you guys want to get entered in those giveaways, be sure to follow those giveaway details that we talk about at the start of every video in this series. And make sure you guys are following those details, because we only have one video left, and after that video, after that Q&A, we are going to be doing a laptop giveaway for everyone who has sent in their tickets, okay? So be sure to follow that. That will probably be in about 2 weeks, so we'll talk about that more on the next video, the Delta video. But yeah, be sure to check those details out. It's within the first 5 or 10 minutes of every single video in this series. But all right, let me go ahead and get that giveaway ready. And by the way, if you guys have not seen the full video that this Q&A is for, here is the link for that video. Be sure to check that out. Which, by the way, that video outperformed every video in the series, which I was really hoping it would, because this is my specialty, right? Volume profile is kind of my cornerstone. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed that video. I'm glad you guys supported that video so much. Thank you for that. It's very rare when you're doing a series that the videos later in the series do better than the start of the series. They usually fall off as the series goes on. So I appreciate you guys supporting that video. It is like by far the biggest video. I think it's like bigger than all the other ones combined. So I appreciate that. I personally, I know I'm patting myself on the back here. I think it's the best volume profile video I've ever made. I do not think I could have made that video better. I think I pretty much covered every single detail that I would want to cover in a volume profile video. So if you guys have not seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. It should answer pretty much every question that you have on volume profile. And obviously, if it doesn't, hopefully the Q&A has filled those holes and answered whatever was left over. Okay, sorry, enough yapping. Let me go ahead and get that giveaway started here. How many people do we have here right now? We have 43, so we'll do 1 through 50. Okay, so everybody in here, go ahead and pick a random number 1 through 50. Only pick one number. If you pick multiple numbers, you are disqualified. Pick one number 1 through 50. If you have the same number as somebody else, you guys will both win, and then I'll just pick the actual winner. I'll do another number generator, and it'll basically be a tiebreaker. But preferably, if you see somebody pick a number, just try to pick a different one. But if you have like a lucky number or something, I don't care. Just pick whatever number you can. 1 through 50. It's not a big deal. We will figure it out. I will give you guys like 2 more minutes. It's fine, Sam. Don't message people and tell them not to pick a number. Like I said, if you guys pick the same number, we will just do it again. It's gonna get too confusing if you guys keep changing your numbers. And by the way, if you guys are Discord members, or if you already have Apex accounts, you guys can still participate. You can have up to 20 Apex accounts. So as long as you don't have 20 accounts, you can use the free code for another account. And if you're already a Discord member and you win, I will just extend your Discord access. Did 7 win last week? That's funny. Yeah, Ricky, no problem, man. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy providing a lot of free content. I like the way that I do things, right? I like that I have so much free content, and then I have my premium content as well, right? I know you're always going to have those people on the internet like, oh, you're selling content, blah, blah, blah. But what they don't realize is I have one of the largest catalogs of free content that relates to trading on the entire internet. So I'm glad you guys are finding the content, you enjoy it. I've put a lot of time into this content over the years. I've been doing this for 7 to 8 years now. We're about to be 2026, so how long's it been? We're coming up on 8 years. In January, basically like New Year's, is my streaming and content creation anniversary. I started in January of 2018, I believe it was. So I'm glad you guys are finding the content, you're enjoying it. All right, I'll give you guys like 30 more seconds. Pick a number 1 through 50, only pick one number. Have your emails ready. If you win, I need you to email me. So have your emails ready. Okay, Joseph is going to be the last number unless you guys type in the next like 10 seconds. If you have not picked a number, you have like 10 seconds. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Onyx, you're going to be the last number. 25? Okay, that's fine, Onyx. All right, Daniel, I'll let you slide, but that's it. I'm pressing the button. Daniel's the last one. 40. I swear 42 won last week or the week before. This thing is rigged. Did someone pick 42? Oh, 41? You were close. I don't think anyone had 42. Nobody post any more numbers, but if I miss your number, please tell me, hey, I picked this number. And obviously you can't lie. I can see my chat. I'm not dumb. But if I do miss your number, just let me know. I don't think we have a 42. Okay, no 42. I'm going to roll it again. Don't pick a new number. I'm just going to roll it again. 19. Let me see. Do we have a 19? Oh, we had an 18. Someone was 1 off again. Unless I'm blind, I don't think we have a 19 either. Oh, by the way, this is for an Apex account. I'm going to do 2 Apex accounts, and the third one is going to be for Discord. Sorry, I should have clarified that earlier. We're going to do an Apex account. We're going to pick a winner. We're going to do another Apex account, pick a winner. Then we're going to do a Discord access. Okay, no 19. I'm going to roll it again. 21. Oh, we do have a 21. Do we have multiple 21s? Let me see. I don't think so. Adrian. I don't think we have multiple 21s. I think it's just you, Adrian. Adrian, am I mistaken? You're a Discord member, correct? You are a Discord member? Okay, to make this easier, just message me on Discord instead of emailing me. I thought I recognized your avatar picture. Ricky, please don't beg, man. I'm doing it the way I'm doing it. It's unfortunate if you guys don't win. I can't make everybody a winner. Yeah, Adrian, can you send me a message on Discord? I gotta stick to the rules and be fair to everybody. Alright, I'm gonna roll for the second Apex account. Did someone have 3? Let me see. 3's usually pretty common. Yeah, Greg. Greg, I also know you're a Discord member. Can you message me on Discord? I think you are. I'm pretty sure. If you are a Discord member, just message me on Discord, which will make it easier. Okay, this is the big giveaway. This is for Discord. I'm going to do one more giveaway here. So Greg, Adrian, you guys got the Apex accounts. And then here is the Discord access. It's going to be for 3 months, by the way. It's a quarterly access. 23. We do have a 23. Do we have multiple 23s? Max, you are the winner for the Discord access, which is awesome. I appreciate that. You got a lot of our regulars are winning. I appreciate you guys. You guys are always in the live streams almost every day. Appreciate you guys supporting the channel. Max, I believe you are also a Discord member. I swear I'm not rigging this, guys, for Discord members. I think we just have a lot of Discord members in here. Can you message me in Discord, Max? So what I'm going to do for you, Max, is I'm going to take a look at your profile on my website, and I'm just going to extend your Discord access for however long you already have it. I'm going to extend it for 3 months. Oh, yeah, that's right. You just renewed your annual. Okay. I'm going to extend it by 3 months. I appreciate you you being here. All right, guys, that is it for these giveaways. I'm going to be doing more giveaways later, either today or sometime in the next couple of days, for you guys that could not make the live stream. If you guys have sent me your tickets from these videos, we talk about in the first part of the video how to get entered in these giveaways. I'm going to be giving away more Apex accounts and more Discord access to you guys who sent me your tickets on my giveaway email. So if you have sent me your tickets, be on the lookout. If you're a winner, I will message you on your email. If you have not sent me your tickets, just go ahead and watch one of those videos at the start of the video. Follow those details. Send me your tickets, and I'll get you guys added to those giveaways. We have a couple more giveaways left for the rest of the series. I'm going to be giving away more Apex accounts, more Discord access. We have some Addis giveaways happening next week. So if you guys are looking for Addis accounts for our Orderflow video, we're going to be giving away 30-day access, I believe they gave me. And then there's a promo code as well. They are very particular about their giveaways and like their promo codes. So believe me, guys, I tried my best to squeeze out as much as I could from them. They very rarely give out promo codes, so I tried my best. So I'll give you guys what I can next week. But all right, guys, I'm going to do a little outro here for the video. I'm going to cut this up in the next couple of days, and you guys will have the cut up version on YouTube probably by like Wednesday or Thursday. All right, everybody, this has been the Q&A for the volume profile video in the Becoming an Apex Trader series. I appreciate you guys watching this video. If you guys enjoy the content, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to check out the playlist to find all the other videos in this series. I will see you guys in the next one. I appreciate you guys watching. Peace.